It is just a shade after 6. We will call the meeting to order. Melissa.
Brett,
Here.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee.
Okay, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act on the wall. Feel free to take a look. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Any amendments? Anything needs to be changed?
Make a motion. That's for second that.
Any discussion? Melissa?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
3.1 board minutes. Minutes from the last meeting in June. Any amendments or changes needed or required? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Melissa?
Alex.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
3.2 claims. I know there is an ED lawn service claim. Is there anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve all of the claims with the exception of the ED lawn service claim?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Johnson Controls, didn't we just replace the boiler and, I mean, we've got HVAC repairs,
Yep.
chiller parts.
We do not do anything in the PLC, what will be the old gym. We're above this space here. And all of that is managing to go down at the same time.
What's the elementary boiler? Didn't we replace that?
We replaced the chiller, we did not
But not the
replace the
boiler.
boiler.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? Hearing none, Alyssa?
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the ED lawn service claim?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Alyssa?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Brett,
Abstain?
Bob.
Yes.
Moving on to section 4, informational items. You have the treasurer's report, which is always in our agenda packet every month. Any questions on any of those accounts? Moving on to 4.2, discussion of track replacement project with KSB representation.
So we know that we're going to do something with the track, we know it needs done, we can't have competition on it. Parts of it are probably unsafe for any use in general. In the late winter, early spring, we talked about maybe trying to get something going this summer to get it replaced. Timelines did not line up. I've been working with Cody Pruitt at KSB as far as delivery methods, what works best. I asked him to come in tonight just to have conversation with you guys about the different delivery methods that are possible and what might best align to what your goals are for replacing the track. Cody?
So thanks for the invitation to be here tonight, talk about kind of your options for your construction project. Just in terms of recap the timeline, I know that there was kind of a preference to get it done this summer, but by the time some of the details worked out, the project delivery system that was kind of preferred at the time was to try and kind of cram a design-build approach in there. When what wasn't feasible in terms of, hitting that timeline, as I discussed with Superintendent Valley, it kind of makes sense, I think, to step back and kind of be a little more thoughtful about what is the best approach for your project delivery system for this project. And you have some options out there if it's not going to be, construction obviously in summer 2025. So, I think, we sent a memo in the fall, but just kind of overview, right? Anytime you have a school district project where the total anticipated expenditures are more than $109,000, the default rule is that that's going to be competitively bidded, right? So sometimes people talk about that as the traditional method or design bid build. And the idea there is a design professional designs plans, does construction drawings, we put together a legal contract, send it out to bid, you get apples to apples to bids, you evaluate the bidders, you look at only the responsible bidders. If someone's not responsible, you don't consider their bid. That's not a ranking of strongest to weakest, that's a binary choice, right? It's a threshold, is someone responsible or not? And then all things being equal, you have to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder. Now that all things being equal is not just lawyer gobbledygook, right? If someone's gonna offer a higher quality project or an accelerated timeline better for the school district, you're not forced into the lowest dollar amount, but all other things being equal, you have to go with the low bid on that type of project. There are alternatives to that under the law, one of which is construction management at risk, which I know you're familiar with your project. I think MCLs or your CM on your bigger project. And the idea there is that you're doing a quality-based selection to pick a construction manager based on past experience, track record, quality, financial strength, and other attributes that you come up with the criteria. And you're picking them based on that strength. And you may pick them and lock them up before you know really what the scope of work is, what the final price is gonna be, but kind of to try and get that construction management expertise earlier rather than later, to provide that to your design professional so that they can take that into account before they've gone through all the detailed construction drawings and nailing down scope and things like that. And then another alternative is the design build that we talked about. Design build, the idea there is it's a turnkey project, right? So if you know what the thing is you want to build and you know what the budget is, then you're going to pick a single entity under a single contract to be the design builder. And then under that umbrella that you contract with them is going to be both the designer, the licensed engineer or architect, and the builder, right? And you're going to enter into a contract and they're going to then give you that project. For both those alternatives to hard bidding, the construction management at risk and the design build process, there's a specific procedure under Nebraska law that you have to follow that sometimes feels like complex and too many steps and things like that, but it doesn't need to be scary. It just takes certain steps that you have to walk through to do that approach. We often get asked kind of what's the best, what should we do here? And even though it sounds kind of like an evasive lawyerly answer, it really depends on your specific project and your goals as a board. So for example, if you have a project, even a big expensive project where it's really, really important to you to show like you got the lowest bid and cost was the most important thing, right? More than scope, more than quality maybe. You might do a hard bid, competitively bid project. And there's nothing wrong with that approach, right? It's a process that's transparent and you can turn to your patrons and say, hey, the dollars were X and we wish it was less, but this is the process we went through and this was the lowest bid. As an alternative, if you have a project that has, for example, a lot of phases and some combination of renovation and remodeling and new construction and sequence is important, it's going to disrupt your operations. Having that construction management input into the design might be important. Coming up with phasing, it might be really important. Having that constructability and availability of materials and what the submarket looks like is sometimes important input to your designer before they've gone all the way through to have construction drawings. So construction management works well in those types of situations. And then design build, we don't see as much of it in terms of just frequency, but that works well when you kind of know what the project is and you know what your budget, and if it means you have to kind of make changes along the way to fit it into that, and you want a turnkey approach, sometimes that's a good advantage. There's disadvantages too, right? The disadvantage to the hard bid process is sometimes you've done the design, you know exactly what you want, your engineer, your architect did it perfectly, the plans look great, it's all the estimates look great, and you go to bid and it's 15% higher than you budgeted for, right? Because that's just the way the bids come back. Well, you're pretty far down the road in terms of locking in the design and stuff at that point, so that can be frustrating. On the other hand, it's more transparent in terms of pricing and things. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have. I know on construction management at risk, even though you have picked a construction manager before you know what the scope of work is and what the guaranteed maximum price is, my preference is often to require the construction manager to competitively bid the subcontracted work, right? So that there's still some type of competitive process to try and encourage a lower price and to be budget sensitive and things like that. So that's kind of a lot of me talking all at once. I know you guys have thought about stuff, and most importantly, I want to answer your questions so you feel comfortable about kind of your general approach to this project and another project.
Specific questions for Cody?
And while you're thinking, Cody will help us through this process regardless of what direction we go as far as publication, timelines, documents, all those things that are going to be required by law. It's not just going to be me in my office trying to figure this out. He's going to be helping us along the way.
So as far as timing, are we starting this, you know, at the right time to have a new track as soon as possible?
So, tell me about your construction preference. Is that like a summer 26 construction then? Is that what, yeah, I think right now it's very timely, right? Whether, I mean, obviously if you have a designer on board and you give them the green light, then the critical path there is how fast can they come up with the design? And then I think if you're bidding this fall, you know, you're gonna get a lot of bids, even into the winter, you'll still have interest. I think if you're gonna do design build, you have to do an advertisement for 30 days to request qualifications, and then it's another 30 days for the RFP process. So that's at least 60, but really is more like 80 or 90 at a minimum by the time you meet and evaluate them and things like that. Getting a construction manager on board is about 60 or 70, days by the time you do your selection committee and things like that, depending on how often you want to meet and how aggressive you can be. So, yeah, Bob, I think right now is the right time to at least come up with an approach and have a timeline so that you're not kind of behind the curve in terms of hitting the market. I would point out though that, you're not under an obligation to move forward with either a competitive bid project or even a guaranteed maximum price until you have more details. So you may spend some time and effort and resources getting it teed up, and then you come around and go, this just isn't gonna work. You're not on the hook for that stuff yet, right? In terms of how we would structure the construction contract until you decide, okay, now we're gonna sign a contract and move forward with a design builder or construction manager.
When you look at school projects, specifically this type of thing, when they go out and have to do a track,
Yeah.
is there a method that is more commonly used among school districts? I'll just leave it
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of project. I think that sometimes on track projects, right, that some of the people that do it all the time, that can be really efficient with their self-performed work, sometimes they can't sharpen their pencil as much in terms of a construction manager at risk sometimes, because they obviously can't self-perform all that, right? And so their fee, we're gonna negotiate a fee that's gonna have a certain limitation. It's not gonna be an open-ended fee. And I think sometimes they just assume competitively bid it, right? Even people that do it all the time, because it's like, they know they can be efficient and, what their costs are gonna be and things like that. I think sometimes though, for specialized projects like that, there's school districts that are hesitant to kind of be wed to the lowest responsible bidder when maybe you have a preference for a certain contractor, a certain quality, a certain experience, and you rather take that into account, right? And have some control over a quality-based selection, and so that would kind of nudge someone towards a construction manager or design build approach, right? Obviously, you're gonna have a lot of say, the selection committee would have a lot of say, and ultimately the board on which contractor you go with then. And again, that doesn't mean that the costs are inflated, but it's gonna be a less transparent process that I think sometimes you have to explain to your patrons of why you still got good value for taxpayer dollars, even though it wasn't, a hard bid type process, so. I think all of them are viable for this type of project. It's kind of what your priorities are in terms of, do you wanna just turn an engineer loose and or an architect, either one, have them come up with a design because you're confident, right? What's the scope of the project? Remove and replace existing, give us an option for an AC base, give us an option for a post-tension, PCC base. And I mean, if you're pretty tight on what the scope is and you don't need a lot of input from construction management for your architect or engineer to come up with your design, then maybe you just do that and hard bid it, and the number's the number, and have a good engineer architect to oversee it and have good specs and hold your contractor to it and have a transparent process, right? If it's a little bit more like, hey, here's the budget, and we want someone with experience, but what we actually build, our scope of work is a little bit more in flux because it's so budget sensitive, then maybe you don't want to do a hard bid process because you're not going to have enough clarity for your designer to get too far down the road in what they design. So that's kind of the trade-offs. It's kind of what the board prioritizes.
So Cody, if we do a hard bid, and we have a budget, obviously we know our budget, they don't know our budget, they come back and everything's higher, but we have a guy, he's low bid. Do we have the option to go back to him and say, this doesn't work, or do we start over from scratch?
That's a great question, Mike. So here's the legal answer on the process, and that is that if we do a scope of work and we get a bid, between the time of the bid submission and the contract award, we really can't negotiate. We can't beat them up and have them come up with another number. Really shouldn't be changing the scope of work at that point. What we can do is we can reject all bids and say, hey, that, everything's 20% high, we don't have that money.
Okay.
Or we can award the low bid to the low apparent bidder, right? And then get them under contract and have those obligations and go in with our eyes open, and then maybe do kind of deductive change orders, change the scope of work, take something out, delay a phase, something like that. Now, at that point, we are still under contract with that contractor. So we may say, here's a deductive change order, we're cutting out 15% of scope, give us a 15% price, and they may say, no, now that it's a change order, here's a huge markup, or here's my pricing, or I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't that great. So you have to go in with your eyes open, knowing that you're a little bit at the mercy of the contractor at that point. Now, hopefully, we'd also have a construction contract that would be part of the bid package that would give us pretty strong rights that early in the process to terminate if it didn't work out. So that's kind of a long way of saying you have to reject all bids or move forward as bid, but then you do have the opportunity down the road to potentially change the scope of work. The other thing we can do, we've had success with, is working with your designer, whether it's a licensed engineer or an architect, to maybe have kind of a base bid, the bare minimum, and then different alternates, both maybe add alternates and deduct alternates, so that you'll have some ability to say, okay, the base bid was in and we want these other things, and you can kind of customize some of the bids to come up with a dollar amount that matches the scope you want, that's also within your budget. So we see that a lot too in terms of hard bids.
There are also I wouldn't say a lot, but there are actual track companies out there that do this every day, all day long.
Right.
And so, would that be something where you said, all right, we're gonna do a build design, and you bring those guys in, and that's how you go that route? Because, let's be honest, the track is it's not like we're putting buildings up and all that. We're putting the track basically where it is now. We've had guys out in the past, and they've all looked at it, and they'll tell us the same thing. Just now, it's just a matter for me, is like, well, which one, if you're all good, who can give us the best deal, best price?
Right. Well, I think if you're going for best price and you look at it more like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but a commodity kind of a standardized approach, I think the traditional competitive hard bid approach is what you're going to want to do for that.
Because we can pre-qualify, right?
No, I mean, we can evaluate.
So anybody that thinks they can do that track can bid that job?
They can submit a bid,
Okay.
but then I think you lean on your architect or engineer to say, are they a responsible bidder, right? If you have company A, B, and C, and they're all competent, and you get a fly-by-night roofing contractor out of Crete, right? You're gonna go, you're not a responsible bid, we're not even gonna look at your number because you don't have the experience. So I think there's a way to evaluate the responsibility of bidders. If the district disqualifies bidders for lack of experience or other reasons, I think you wanna be able to point to articulable, non-discriminatory reasons why, and I think, in my experience, you lean on your design professional to provide that objective basis. But yeah, you knock them out there. So
Okay.
I don't think you have to have someone that doesn't know what they're doing. That being said, let's say there's 3 contractors, and if you were ranking them under a construction management or design build approach, you go 1, 2, 3. You don't get to do that, right? At that point, if they're all responsible and they've crossed that threshold, then, and all things being equal, you go up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have the ability to put in experience requirements within a hard bid scenario in order to be responsible.
I don't know that you do. I think you're tied to what the scope of work is and what the contract is. I don't think there's like a pre-qualified type process the way there is when you pre-qualify design builders on a competitive bid. But I think, and I may be getting there in a different way, Renee, I think if you're gonna look at that, right, and it's gonna be important to you, your designer, as you evaluate this, whether they're responsible, I think you can take that into account. I don't think you can arbitrarily say, you need to have 7 years of experience and have 10 tracks under your belt in order to be a responsible bidder on this project.
In Nebraska, you can't do that?
I don't think that's the case.
Can you verify that for me?
You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But on a flip side of that, if we did design build, we could, correct? Because we're choosing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we could look and say, hey, you don't have enough experience. We're gonna go this route, and there's no anything we can do that could come back and bite us in the butt.
I think that's right, and whether you say it's 7 years and 10 tracks, or
Well,
whether you
yeah.
just say, submit your experience on this, and you look at it and go, well, we like the ones that have done 10 tracks, and these new ones
Correct.
might be great people.
But that one would have no bearing if we decide to go that route. Nobody could come back and say, whoa, why wasn't I given the opportunity, right? Design build.
I think that there is enough discretion with the selection committee and the criteria you put out there that if you say, here's our top 3 rankings, that I think that's almost
Okay.
always defensible.
Okay.
What if there were some large donations, hypothetically?
Congratulations.
Hypothetically. And what if it turned into a project that maybe had turf, grandstand, new drainage, anything else that falls into that barrel of fruit? What, we like to use local contractors when we can. What's the best delivery method if that were the case? And it wasn't just a track, it could be something more.
So, you're talking about local preference, or how do we account
Yes.
for or plan for donation? Yes. Okay, so I don't think just local preference, I don't think that that by itself is gonna be, certainly not a valid basis on a competitive bid to disqualify somebody.
Right.
I think that, I don't think you can arbitrarily do that even in like a selection of your construction manager, right? Unless it's some tied to your criteria somehow.
Okay.
And so I think, now that being said, I think that probably is accounted for in the selection committee evaluating, you know, which one you like, who you're familiar with, things like that. In terms of accounting for donations, it kind of depends on how that donation comes in, right? And so if it's just a dollar amount, then that's just gonna be a financial thing that helps change your budget for the project, right? If it's in-kind donations, right, you got a concrete contractor that wants, okay, it's not that, it's just a dollar amount. Yeah, I think that would just affect how you pay for it, and that would be more on the finance side, unless I'm not understanding your question, Brett.
If there was, if it was a bigger project than just a track,
Yeah,
and there are local contractors who we use on this project or any other project we've done, what delivery method, would that be more of a, I get confused
Design.
on different methods, where we wanted to have a little more
But
flexibility,
I think what Brett you're saying is,
maybe?
I know what you're saying, I think the scope would be the track, and if we do anything additional, I don't think at that point for donations to do the turf, to do all that, I think at that point, that doesn't even run through the school. I mean, it wouldn't be a bid process, because it's privately funded money for taxpayer, you know, the school district.
yeah, so if the dollars come through the school, and they're more than 109,000 in its construction, you're gonna have to follow one of those alternatives.
Even if we still would have to use the 3.
Yeah, once the dollars come to the school, they're a school district.
So the
dollars.
foundation, you said that they'll just use the foundation. Foundation gets $600,000 to do turf and put a new press box in, and it's over that 109. We would have to go through the same process.
If there are dollars, now if the foundation says, hey, can we build a press box for you here on your land, will you lease us the land, and the foundation will build everything, then I think you might have more latitude. But if it's school dollars, even if they came from a private source, you're gonna have to follow this process. Now, let me just answer a question you
But
didn't.
couldn't you turn it over to the school after the project's completed and donate to the school?
I think
after
that's
it's
something
done?
that the foundation could do. But
Well, I think that gets done a lot.
yeah, I think we could be creative
Okay.
with that, yeah. The other thing is that my preference typically so one of the steps for either design, build, or construction management at risk is that the board has to adopt a resolution that says, we want to use this project delivery system for X, Y, and Z scope, right? My preference on that is typically to be as broad as possible for potential things, so even if you think, hey, we're 95% sure it's just the track, but it might be a press box or lights or turf, I might include that in the resolution, and then it doesn't have to be part of what's called the guaranteed maximum price, right? On the initial thing, you can do a phase thing, or, you know, it ends up getting done early, or additional dollars come in, you wanna add another phase to that contractor, you can, you're not obligated to, you could do a separate process if you wanted to open it up again to other people.
So which of the 3 methods gives us the most flexibility to choose local?
Either construction management risk or design build, because it's more of a quality-based selection.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing I'd point out too is, part of so under the construction management approach, you're still gonna retain an independent architect or engineer that's gonna do the
Right.
design, right? Under design build, the school district will hire an independent, what's called PCD or performance criteria developer, that has to be a licensed architect or engineer. And they kind of help you come up with what your criteria are gonna be to evaluate the design builders. they speak into that, and they have some objective input to that, but they can't be the ones that are gonna be doing the design under the design build umbrella, okay? So let's say you have an engineering company that you're familiar with that does tracks all the time, right? If they're the ones that the district retains to be your performance criteria developer, they can't be under field contractors umbrella to do the design. So it may be that some of your more experienced engineers that want to do the full-blown design will partner with one or more field and track contractors to be the actual design builders, and you need to retain another independent performance criteria. And that PCD, they're not doing full-blown design, they're just helping you look at it when you get design builders to be able to evaluate, do they know what they're doing or not?
In general, what do you see that cost from the PCD?
I have not seen a bunch of them on track projects have a sense of what the order of magnitude is. It's not anywhere close to what full-blown design is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other questions for Cody?
So Cody, what's the board's next steps?
So I think, whether it's tonight or your next meeting or whatever, I think I would come up with a decision about kind of what your preference is for a project delivery system. Let Brandon know, or let me know, or if it comes from tonight, you know, we can get a sense of the board on that. And then what we would do is we would get the documents ready for you to adopt that resolution to pick, if it's one of the alternatives, design, build, or construction manager at risk. If you want to do it as soon as possible, we would also have the RFPs or request for qualifications ready to go, so that if it was at X board meeting, you'd be able to send them out the next day if you want to go on that. And then you'd start the procurement process. I also would give some thought to who you would want to be on that selection committee, right? And so it's things like one or more board members, one or more administrators, your architect or engineer, community member that's familiar with construction, a lay community member that just has you know, just an interest in the community, things like that. That's kind of if you're going to do alternatives. If you're going to do competitive bidding, I think step 1A is get your engineer or architect on board ASAP, give them the scope of work, and have them go, so that they get the plans done, because that's going to be really the critical path. I mean, we'd have the legal portion of the bid package and the construction agreement and bond forms and all that ready to go, so that once the plans are ready, you can hit the street. There's no specific time frame on the hard bid process in terms of how long it has to be open. Oftentimes we see and like to see, you know, 30 days or so just to get interest. You're not wed to that. If you want to do it shorter, as long as you think you're going to have good interest, you want to do 21 days or something like that, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you feel like you had a chance to get everybody's bid, and especially this time of year when people are slammed, right? It may be that you need to have it open a little longer to get their attention.
If we had an action item on August meeting for which of the three, would that be soon enough?
Yeah, you could have all three. Yeah, I think it's probably worth the discussion, you know, in terms of if you're leaning one way or another.
I think what he's asking is if the board has a discussion tonight
Yeah.
and informs me to discuss with you preparation for a specific method,
Yeah.
and it's on the August agenda,
Oh, yeah.
is that soon enough for any of the three choices?
I think so.
Okay.
And if you wanna meet sooner, you know, if you wanna have a special board meeting, you can do it sooner too, whatever you prefer. How are you guys, you're not doing the school bond though on this, right? I guess I should say. You're just gonna do separate special building fund or, okay. That's the only caveat I say. If you have an election, then.
Right.
Because that affects the design. I mean, that's what we see a lot is, you can still go, and just we're either gonna get the money or not, but if you're not gonna turn your engineer loose until, you know, if you have the dollars, then obviously that affects timing, so.
Other questions for Cody? Anybody have any? Can I ask who has opinions on which method?
It's discussion.
Anybody have a opinion on a specific method?
Seems like we have a pretty good grasp on what it's gonna be. I mean, like Mike said earlier, track's there, we know like that's gotta come up. Foundation might have to have work done to it too. I mean, we have a pretty good idea what the heck's going on with it. Minus not being an expert in the field, we know what needs to happen. If I heard Cody right, design build fits that a little bit more, quite a bit more. Just my general thought on that.
I would lean more towards the design build myself.
Yeah. And, I mean, how many years ago was it that that company came out and put the patches on? I mean, it's,
I wish Robert was here.
Yeah, it's-
7, 8.
8. I
and they
would say
told us
8.
at the time it was a 3 to 5 year fix.
They said it was guaranteed for, what's the word? Warranted for
Warranty,
5,
right.
usually you get 7 out of it,
Okay.
best case scenario.
And they basically nailed it.
I like the idea of having a little, I mean, I'd like to have local people work on it from the one building project I've been a part of.
I would agree.
See a few more local people. So, anyone else, 2 cents? Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cody.
My pleasure. If there's anything else that comes up, whether it's now or later, just have Brandon or Brett contact me, and appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Renee, I'll follow up if there's anything binding one way or another. So, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Cody.
You bet.
4.3 policy review. 4.3.1 public hearing on policy 5018 parental involvement.
Okay, as my email said, we've got a couple public hearings that we need to do on a yearly basis on policy. The first one here is parental involvement, 5018. This policy is also, Cody, you're good if you wanna go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. 5018, also, we discussed last month because there were some changes that came down from KSB. Essentially, at this time in the public hearing, any member of the community, anybody in the audience that wants to speak on it can speak on it. It's not a public comment, it's not a time-related thing, but it is very specific to that one policy and any of its parts.
At this point, we will open the public hearing on policy 5018 parental involvement. If you have something to come up and say, please, do we have a motion to do that? No. So if you have something to offer on policy 5018, please stand up, state your name, tell us where you're from, and we'd love to hear from you. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of policy 5018 on parental involvement and move on to the public hearing on policy 5045, student fees. Brandon.
Same thing here, student fees is something we do on a yearly basis. You will see on the attached policy, it has the changes in meal prices. Everything else stayed the same from last year, exact same policy. You'll see it's revised or reviewed on a yearly basis. We just look for any comments that people have.
At this point, we will open the public hearing on policy 5045, student fees. If you have something to offer, please come up, state your name, where you're from. Hearing none, we're moving on to 4.3.3, policy revisions review. Brandon.
Okay, submitted 3 new policies to policy committee for any comments that came out later. Those included 2008 meetings. All 3 of these are attached. 2008 meetings provides more flexibility if a newspaper cannot or will not publish a notice. They made some changes there. It's very minor changes within the body of that policy. 5002, admission of students. Essentially what they did is they simplified the policy, making it referencing law instead of listing all of the examples that we had previously. Again, more of a clerical error, or clerical revision than it is a fundamental revision. 5003 is going to be different. 5003 is admission of part-time students. Within the legislature this year, they made some changes as far as part-time students participating in activities. What they did was specifically for exempt school, which would be like homeschool, or trying to think what the term is, exempt or non-certificated schools, essentially accredited. Students have the opportunity to be part-time enrolled and participate in extracurriculars. The second part of this is where I think the board has to make some considerations, because it has to do specifically with parochial, denominational, or religious schools. The board has a choice of, they can say, no, cannot participate in extracurricular activities, or yes, can participate in extracurricular activities as long as they meet specific protocols. If you look at the attachment, there is a lot of red line work on it. There's a lot to consider. I'll open it to questions.
And who looked at this on our committee?
I sent it to Renee Bobbin.
Have you guys looked at it much? What's your 2 cents, you know?
I have not looked at
Okay,
this
that's
thoroughly,
fine.
so I've been out of town.
No, that's fine. Maybe.
And that's for the 25-26 school year?
It would be yes.
It would go into effect?
Yep.
Well, Brandon, give us some of your thoughts.
Okay, so we have no guidance from NSAA whether these students will even be eligible to participate, at least at a competitive NSAA level. Sub-varsity type stuff, and that counts speech, drama, music, all those things. Participatory, that's up to us. But from a competitive standpoint, that's an NSAA guidance thing. I think with homeschool students, it makes a ton of sense because they don't have those opportunities. With private parochial students, they're going to have some, if not all of those opportunities at the school they're attending. I don't know that it makes sense to open that to everybody else. Just my 2 cents.
How would it affect things like baseball?
That's cooperative, and that's
So this
through the
is
NSA.
totally
This is totally,
separate
so
from the-
you're saying if a kid from Newman says he'd like to go play basketball for Wahoo, wants to
Yep.
stay at Newman? Okay, that's, okay,
Correct.
that's, okay.
That's what it's talking
So
about.
homeschool kids, do they count toward our enrollment?
No. But I say they don't count towards our enrollment now.
But they could on the activity side.
On the activity side, that's where we don't have NSA
Okay.
guidance. I can't answer that.
Gotcha.
Does it seem to make some sense to pause or not take this on until the NSA has given guidance?
We need to do something because legislatively, they have said exempt school students are eligible.
Oh,
Like, they can take advantage of that now. We need to have a policy. What's in question in this policy is that opened up to students that attend accredited schools elsewhere or not.
Well, I don't think it's fair to any school if they have the opportunity to play at their school. I mean, it hurts the school they're coming from, and it hurts
It affects both.
it affects both, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
and so, yeah, I don't think it does, because if a child, because you're saying the one student, I'm just using the worst case scenarios, because right now, with a co-op, you combine the 2 schools together.
Correct.
So if a kid from Newman decides to go there, or vice versa, can it be vice versa?
That would be up to the private school.
Okay. Yeah.
In the past, we've always looked to the NSA for all the guidance.
When it comes to
Other
activity
opportunities,
eligibility.
Any type of, yeah. So a homeschool kid wants to participate, but our policy says you can play freshman, JV, but not a varsity sport activity or that?
The way that they have it written, which I'm gonna need to go through more deeply, because in their memo, they did state specifically that NSAA ultimately oversees this.
Okay, so within that.
So within the policy, it's not going to say it, but whatever the NSA comes out with, that's what we would have to
Okay.
apply.
And we need to do this next month, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we
these-
we got time to look at it.
These three are for consideration next month. This is
Gotcha.
just
Okay,
introduction.
perfect.
Do these have anything to do with the handbook?
No. Even if they do, the handbook can be amended at any time, the way the process works. Anything else here on 5003? It's a lot to dig through. Okay.
Figure out where we're at. All right, 4.4, administrative reports. We're gonna skip all the way down to the director line.
Two parts to my presentation tonight, or one is part as a presentation, and will be the Americanism Committee and Curriculum Committee with public comment. If you have any questions about my board report by itself, let me know, and then we can go forward with the secondary part.
Questions for Josh on the report? On the part two?
Every year, the board has a committee, Americanism and Curriculum. 3 members sit on that committee, and this meets our requirement for 79-724. It's the Committee on American Civics. We have added in curriculum and other decisions with that committee as well. So most of what you'll hear about tonight here in this setting is the American Civics portion, but we'll bring you up to speed on kind of where we are with some of our curriculum alignment renewals and other things that are happening there. So goals of that committee are to ensure that everyone has appropriate information, opportunity to ask questions about those curricular materials. This is linked as well, and I'll share that, but this is our current curricular renewal process. We try to update this as new state standards are presented and come out. We generally have, in a normal situation, it's a 7-year process. So we would have 2 years, in essence, or 18 months sometimes, to start to review materials, look at materials, form committees, do research before we even make any decisions. So generally there's a leeway of about 18 months to 2 years to kind of lead up to when we're actually selecting materials. All along the way, as we would narrow down selection, the board curriculum committee would be included in that, and the board as well. When we would narrow it down to 3, we would present that information, get comments, feedback, etc. from stakeholder groups and whatnot. So this just essentially kind of shares where the phases are with each of those curricular cycles. So open communication, I guess purpose of this is just to create open communication between the school district, from an instructional standpoint and the board committee. When new materials or textbooks are identified for consideration, we would convene a meeting with the committee. We've done that several times in the last couple of years to talk through what those changes might mean, to talk through what questions there might be, or what consideration that the public might have to making those selections. When social studies materials specifically are reviewed, and that will begin in 26-27 school year, that committee will have a more active role in that because of that American Civics component of that 79-724. So that portion would say the committee, the internal committee team of teachers would make sure that the materials for selection are aligned with state standards. New state standards come out, we would make sure that those are aligned. and then we present them to the Committee on American Civics for review. Also during that part, we would have opportunity for public input, comment. They can, request any of our materials at any given time as well. So this Committee on American Civics went into effect in September 1st of 2019. We are, again, no fewer than 2 public meetings annually. November 18th was our previous meeting, and then July 21st. Usually the November meeting we hold before the regularly scheduled board meeting. It also is noted that it's an open meeting. There is no public comment accepted at the November meeting, but there must be public comment accepted at least once, so we do that in the July meeting. I keep minutes of time, place, members, and attendance, absent, all the matters and details that are discussed. So there's agendas created, and then minutes are kept, and the minutes are sent back to the committee for inspection to make sure that they're accurate, and we keep those on hand if anybody would ever want to see those. Part of this group too is to ensure that our curriculum and materials incorporates one or more of the following for each student. This also came out of 79-724 back in 2019. So an assessment that's identical to naturalization test at 8th and 12th grade. A score is recorded at the district level for review. A minimum of 10 questions are selected. On the naturalization test, it's 10 questions. Majority of ours right now, so we complete the naturalization portion in 8th grade, and then again before graduating. That's the choice that we've adopted. We do in 8th grade and 12th grade do it more times than once. So they might have 20 or 30 or 40 questions periodically throughout the course of the year. They don't just give them the same 10 questions multiple times. So part of that is just recognizing what the assessment is or what the test is, asking what kinds of questions, and then exposing our students to those. A second choice is attend a meeting of the public as defined, and it's defined there under that section. I've talked to Mr. Grummert about this, and I've shared this with the board curriculum committee as well. I would like to make this a non-written graduation requirement, not something that would be posted in the curriculum guide, but something that over the course of those 4 years of high school, I would like to see us strongly consider requiring our students to attend any kind of public meeting, whether that be one of our board meetings or an NRD meeting or a Chamber of Commerce meeting or foundation meetings, any of those types of meetings. I think it's really important that we promote their engagement in those civic duties, and hopefully, just to help them figure out a little bit more of what's going on in the community around them. Completion of the third option would be a completion of a project or a paper, again with 8th grade and 12th grade, on a person or persons or events, not necessarily, but not to exclude all of the holidays listed below. It wouldn't have to be something specific to one of those holidays. It could be any person who had significant contributions to the United States, but we at this point have not selected that. We're looking at the top 2 requirements. So program components then for overall social studies, K-12 social studies teachers, they analyze the state standards, they ensure alignment with our materials. There may be things, I've had this conversation, not every material set that you purchase is going to be explicitly aligned to our state standards, so there's going to be things we have to take out, there might be things we have to add in. There's going to be things that we might reword or change, and those are things that that team would go through and those individual departments address. So all materials are available for public review. Contact Superintendent LaValle, and he would follow policy to organize that, if a parent would request those materials. Curricular themes, you'll see we include and stress contributions of all ethnic groups to the development and growth of America, military contributions in the growth of the nation, contributions to art, music, education, medicine, etc. And then students study the contributions of leaders in the development and growth of America as a nation. It's pretty broad across the entire K-12 scope. So I did not include an exhaustive list. However, if you ever wanted to see that or know that, we can get that for you for review. Social studies requirement in middle school and high school, again, is that naturalization test currently. Teachers, a lot of times will just work it in as like a bell ringer or something to kind of get the day started. It's 10 pretty quick questions and they're all multiple choice, short response. There's nothing, generally it's essay based. So. Other program components, all of our standards are found at our website. So you'll see the state standards are our, those are the curricular foundation that we follow. So this is on our district webpage, and parents have access to this. You'll see our curricular cards here. Teachers are working on those this summer right now, so they're updating these. So these will be changing. So they're live documents. So as the teachers make changes to those, they just refresh. And you'll see all of those materials here from, what quarters they're taught, to what modules they might be in a specific area. So we wanted to include as many of those things as possible. Sorry. Just so that our families have access to those. Pacing guides are something that I'm working on updating right now. So there are some, but not all of them are listed for all the grades. But these would be the things that would show kind of what's being taught, what standards are aligned, what the activities are that are happening at each of those grade levels or content areas. So again, something that we felt was important to be as transparent as possible with all family members. District components, students recite the Pledge of Allegiance daily. Social studies, reading, and language arts instruction tie directly to the social studies standards. There's a lot of overlap there. A lot in music and art instruction also tie back to those standards. Elements of American history, specifically K-5 and 8th grades. 6th grade is geography, 7th grade is world history. Nebraska history is also 4th grade. And then American government, 8th grade, more specifically 8th grade, and then U.S. history materials and American government at the high school level. And then all schools celebrate and learn about a variety of holidays throughout the year. Constitution Day specifically, September 17th, and that's something, or the preceding school day, if it falls on a weekend, that's something that we send out something annually to staff to remind them of. Any questions about that portion?
Hey, Josh, how often, is there a way to track how many hits these pages get?
I can try to find out. I'm gonna guess not many. I wish it was more, but I can.
But you can track it, though.
I
You
can
can
try
see
to
how many-
find out how many impressions, or I don't know if I could tell exactly what they're doing, but if they're going
Right,
to
right.
specific places. But I think we
I
could
didn't know if
probably
they
find
hit.
out.
And you probably wouldn't know unique users, you would just know
Possibly
each hit.
number of hits, or anytime they've navigated there. But
So I look.
I've been there a lot of times, but.
So I see, how much do we do, I see 8th grade with the Constitution, how much of a dive do we take in the Constitution in the classroom?
Specifically, more so in U.S. history at the high school. 8th grade is pretty broad, so there would be a unit of study specifically, because it would follow essentially like history from American Revolution up through. So it's not going to be, it's not going to be several months, but it would be a portion of the creation of the Constitution. So you would look at everything leading up to that moment, and then specifically the Bill of Rights, and then you would look at things that would happen after as well. But it's not going to be, I don't know, I guess I don't know maybe what you're looking for, but it's not going to be super exhaustive, but it is going to cover all of those, the creation of the Constitution.
Other questions for Josh?
One other piece that's required as part of this as well is just to share a bit. usually I just include this on the end of my board report for this month, but I just decided that it would be easiest to just throw it in here as well, so, or include it here. Wahoo Public Schools, and this is part of the policy, but incorporates multicultural education in all curricular areas at all grade levels. And it lists, what it is, includes, but is not limited to, so it's fairly broad there. The main part of that or consideration is when new materials are reviewed, we always ask the committees to look at, what multicultural impact or what, how is that reflected in the materials that we might be selecting. So just to make sure that it's aligning with the above statement. And these are some of the examples from the teachers provided for elementary, middle school, and high school. You'll see a lot of broad connection or background knowledge in ELA or English language arts, social studies, obviously, and then music and art. Music, try to infuse quite a few different cultural elements depending upon, maybe what musical instruments they're using from specific types of drums and that's even at elementary all the way up through some of the musical tools that Mr. Smith and Mrs. Rude have added in the last few years at the high school, middle school, and high school level. Social studies and American history, obviously. Texts within the English language arts have been selected kind of to represent a variety of cultural backgrounds and experiences. And then in high school, our course path would be world geography, U.S. history, American government, high school Spanish, and many of the things that are included there with Spanish buddies and our culture day, and then specifically in English and fine arts. So there is an ample opportunity for representation of a variety of multicultural backgrounds and experiences within our material sets.
Other questions for Josh?
If there were,
And this is our public hearing.
if there were any public comment, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm always happy, I always tell, last year when we did this meeting, we had a patron stand up and just ask some questions because they were unsure about the process. So I'm glad to talk to anybody if they have questions about that. We actually met out in the hallway after the meeting was over and talked through, a few things. So that's always an option too. If somebody is listening at home and hears that and they want to reach out, that would be great.
Okay, at this point of the meeting, we will open it up for public comment on Americanism. If you do have something to say, please come up, state your name, where you're from, for the rest of the. Hearing none, we're moving on. 4.4.7, Brandon.
My report's attached. I don't know that I have anything to add to what's there. Happy to answer any questions. I think a lot of the questions may circle around construction, which we have just a little further down on the agenda. So if there's anything you have, happy to answer.
Moving on. 4.5, communications, I didn't have any attached, correct? 4.6, audience comments. I think we're gonna pass, we are gonna do audience comments. Okay, at this point of the meeting, we will have audience comments. Please come up, state your name, where you're from. Love to hear from you.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Scott. I'm here from Wahoo. I was going to say I have 2 kids, but that's not true. I have 1 child in WPS, an incoming 10th grader, and I'm here tonight, not for the Wahoo Music Boosters, but for the Wahoo, the newly formed Wahoo Area Arts Council. And I just want to take a few minutes just to share a little bit about this organization with you guys, and then if you have further comments, I'll wait here for the end of the meeting or offer to come back and offer additional information moving forward. This is kind of just a quick little overview for you. So the Wahoo Area Arts Council, as I mentioned, newly formed, community-driven organization that's really dedicated to kind of elevating the arts in Wahoo and the surrounding areas. We really represent a growing movement to celebrate and support and spotlight the arts in all forms. And we really want to take a moment to think about how the arts can enrich what we do within our community and what we do with our students as well. And so one of the things that we want to be thinking about is our definition of arts. How do we think about the arts moving forward? Do you think traditional art, sculpture, painting, singing, dancing, or do we also think about baking, having industrial tech, thinking about poetry readings when we think about language arts? So part of our role or connection is to really start to get the community of Wahoo to think about arts in that expanded form and recognize that we really have arts all around us in our day-to-day lives that maybe we sometimes don't really take a moment to appreciate and to think about. To help us really realize that as this organization was coming together, and I'll just take a moment and kind of step back, it really kind of started because for the past few years they've talked about this opportunity to really kind of create this umbrella that would support this broader definition of the arts. But it's really taken a long time for it to kind of come to fruition, come together, and for people to kind of find the time to fit another organization within their schedule. And so an individual from the city kind of took this on for us to get this started, had a series of public meetings so that people who were interested could come together and learn a little bit about it. And then based on that, they requested individuals to submit to be part of our initial board of directors that really had that interest in taking this forward and moving the Wahoo Arts Council from a concept into fruition. And so in this regard, when individuals went ahead and submitted their applications and were selected, one of the things they really wanted to think about was the connections to the schools. And so lucky for you, you have two individuals that are connected to the schools. Beverly Bettendorf is really kind of representing Bishop Newman, and I, through my work with the Wahoo Music Boosters, is here to really represent the interests and supports for WPS so that we can think about how our students, faculty, etc. can really kind of come under this umbrella as well and really connect the work that the students are doing here in those areas, like I mentioned, of industrial tech, language arts, music, family and consumer sciences, and how we can take those things and really share them with the community. So as this organization moves forward, it's kind of one of its larger goals is to really kind of create this opportunity for a creative arts district. Now, I don't know if any of you are really familiar with that. That's actually a designation the state helps bring to your community based on work that you do in supporting the arts and kind of focusing how to bring this umbrella to the whole community. Ashland would be an example of work that's been done that creates that community arts designation. But that's one of our goals that will be moving forward as we start looking at ways that we can grow the arts here in Wahoo. One of the things that to really get us there is we're looking to have community members. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I did not mention, I'm sorry. We usually limit to 3 minutes.
Okay, and I'm at 3 right now. I
Got
can,
a little attitude.
okay.
We'll give you another minute.
Okay, all right. So let me just do this. Let me take a moment to have you take a look at the packet that I gave you, okay? In that packet that really outlines a little bit of the work that we've been doing. It offers you an opportunity to see how we can really start to grow the arts and what we can do. In there you'll find a little business card, has our website on it, has our social media. We'd ask you to take a look at that website, take a look at our social media, follow if you're interested, learn a little bit more about what we're going to be doing. The postcard in there really kind of highlights our founders membership. And that's really where we're talking about really becoming members of the Wahoo Community Arts Council so that that voice, whether that be from businesses, organizations, nonprofits, students, can be a part of really shaping what we are talking about here within our Wahoo community. And you'll also find some information, an application for the Wahoo Arts Council, and a little bit more about those different levels of membership that are available. The Founders membership is special. It's an 18-month membership that really will take you through until the end of 2026 and really kind of helps kickstart by recognizing those individuals who are passionate about the arts and really want to have that voice in moving the arts forward. How am I doing on my minute? Am I done?
15 seconds.
The last thing you'll see in there, hot off the presses, you guys are the first ones to see it, is our newsletter that'll be going out to the community. And that gives a little bit more information as well, has some hyperlinks for you that you can look at and follow. I apologize that I didn't get through everything as well as I wanted for you, but please know that we're here if you have any questions. Our goal is really to connect with your faculty, with your administration, to talk about how we can best support the students that we have here. We're looking to do a big announcement in the end of August for our first big project that will really benefit our community, our downtown, etc., that students could be involved in. But we'll also be looking at things like doing poetry readings and inviting the students to be a part of that, using our PLC to bring in maybe an art sale and a vocal concert at the same time. Different things like that that we can really start to bring that student voice forward.
If there's anything you missed, send it to me
Okay.
and get it to the board, or you can send it to the board individually.
Okay, okay. I'm happy to do that. I thank you guys for your time. I knew it had to be short, but a little overzealous. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Julie.
Okay. Moving on. Board committee reports. All three now. Okay, go
Was that a committee that when we met with Marcia? Did you get
Yeah, when was that?
What's that?
Those dates, after those dates?
Yeah,
Yeah. Got it.
that really wasn't a committee, I guess.
No.
Foundation met. I don't know that.
Yeah, I will.
There wasn't anything. It's pretty quick. Yep.
Moving on. Four point eight, discussion of current construction project and timelines.
Okay, here's what I got. This is haphazard because these are things that I know, we had OAC to make today. I want to make sure I had as much stuff as I could. Okay, we had a meeting with Tony regarding the hallway. Through Area F, Area G, that concrete polished hallway on level 1 that goes from the high school entrance down to the activity entrance. He would agree he's not very happy with it either. Mike sat in on that meeting. His recommendation is to look at a different finish, and what he offered to do was have it priced out. Whatever the price of the grind that we originally thought we were gonna do, we're gonna grind it down to show more aggregate. They said that's not doable. Every concrete company they talked to strongly recommended against it, so I'm not quite sure why we got that as an option. But what he came back with was whatever that cost would have been to do that, MCL will eat that cost. Hopefully that pays for whatever they want to do going forward, and if it doesn't, then we can have a discussion. Close?
Close.
So what his recommendation is to take that whole first level and put a terrazzo finish on it, essentially an epoxy, really durable, really sharp, it looks good. BDH was in today for the OAC. This is, and it's a small sample, but this is what the entire floor, which looks a little bit like the aggregate, this is what they suggested. The reason they suggested, I thought it looked light, and I was a little worried about it. What they said was the lighter is going to be easier to keep it clean actually, because it's sealed, nothing soaks into it, anything else. If you get too dark of a surface, you start to see streaking, you start to see imperfections, you start to see those things. This is not committed. They're still working on pricing. I just wanted to get this in front of you guys in case there was strong dissension on that being an option. The options are limitless as far as colors, as far as schemes, as far as what they can do. I have zero idea on pricing right now. They're still working through that. And they did not give me a timeline on doing that. As far as the pricing,
Well, they did, remember they said they would do that over Christmas break.
I don't have a timeline on the pricing.
Oh,
The
gotcha.
application, yes, they would do when they had a longer period of time, because they needed 2 weeks, and
At
Christmas
least.
would give them 16 days.
Yeah, that's why I was a little nervous on that
Yeah.
whole.
So, more to come on this. If you want to see what it looks like next to our carpet and next to the epoxy they're gonna put in the science classroom to fix it, I brought those along as well, I can absolutely show you.
So how many different floorings are we now on track to have? I mean, it's like we're hodgepodging a whole bunch of,
Yes.
at some point, that looks awful.
So my
Go ahead.
take is, and I mentioned this to them, is just give us a number and let us decide what we wanna do with the money. We don't have to, I mean, if you walk in and you've never seen it, you're not even gonna question it. Because we see it, because we know it's not great. That edges are. I'd rather have the money back, to be honest, at the end of the day. I don't think we need to, I don't wanna grind it down, I don't think that's a good solution. Is the floor, as we asked him, is it gonna hold up like it would on, and he said it will. It's polished, it's the same, it's not gonna be, it's gonna clean the same, there's nothing different, other than at the edges it looks a little different.
Yeah, I think that's a matter of opinion, that you're not gonna notice it, I think you do notice it.
I don't know, it's everybody's opinion.
I do, yeah,
Cause you know it's there, I've had multiple people walk through and they had no clue.
yeah, again. it's
That's where I'm
aesthetics.
at, I'm just saying, is it,
So, I agree, which is why I kind of pushed for the walkout carpet in front, between the gym and concessions, instead of polished concrete next to tile, next to walkout, next to whatever else. Do you have a thought on what might go there?
No, I don't, I just, as they keep screwing up
I know.
flooring, there's a new option to cover up what didn't work the first time, and at some point in time, when you piece together that many different floorings,
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't know what the right answer is. I know this is what they presented. To that end, walk-off carpet in that area is going down this week. LVT is supposed to be delivered by the end of the week, completed. It's gonna take 7 days to finish. So if they get it in on Wednesday, like they hope, they could get it done by the end of next week. If they don't get it in until the end of this week, it will extend on to kind of that last piece of July, 1st of August.
That's the
That's,
Cafeteria.
cafeteria.
no, the cafeteria and that hallway down the stairs. Next, media platform. So the media platform was a late change order from us. What they didn't anticipate was the timeline to procure material. Right now, they're looking at potential install September 1st. My ask was, 1, stay on time, 2, keep from disrupting anything that we do in that area. And they think they're fairly certain, I won't say positive, they're fairly certain they'll be able to accommodate that request. I'm gonna wait on that one. Mechanical yard screen, we do not have a solution for that yet. Tony came out at the end of last week, not last Friday, but the Friday before. He was out on site. He doesn't like the mechanical yard screen. He doesn't think it looks good. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. They're waiting on the manufacturer for solutions to the screen. They're also waiting on samples for screening on the inside to make it less transparent, which was the whole purpose in the first place. Pay app will not be on here. I sent that to you guys this morning, almost immediately after I received it. I told Brian this morning, not gonna do anything with it. He knows that. He pushes accounting and does what he does. Windows, so around this portion, you'll see the windows are still board and plastic. They're framed in, it's a matter of getting the glass in. Right now, the last day that they'll install any windows is scheduled for August 11, which is first day of teachers, but they have guaranteed they will be done before any students showed up. I just share information. Second floor teachers space, that lounge area, the casework that's getting redone, they have that scheduled to be done 8/13. Officials locker room, I don't even have pricing on that yet. They're hoping to have pricing by the end of the week and then put a schedule together. I don't have anything more for that. The last one is the elevator. The elevator was part of the original design. Somehow something got screwed up where with egress, they put all the controls in the basement instead of the main floor, which make it impossible to get out of a building from the basement. So they've had to reconstruct some things. All of the area around the elevator will be done. So passing through and such in the interim will be possible. They are 8 weeks out on the materials that they need, and it's probably gonna take 2 weeks to address it. So during the 2 weeks that they have to address it, we're going to have to close down that corridor because they're gonna have to have space to stage what they need to do that. Right now, and I have a big question mark here, right now the date is September 19th for completion. That is 100% contingent upon stuff getting in on time.
What an embarrassment. That was supposed to be done, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Who messed up the controls? Is that a design issue?
Clarification, this is the elevator that goes downstairs.
Yeah.
The new elevator that, not in Area G, the high school.
Oh, do
This is
we
the
have-
one,
Is that working now?
ADA, yeah, that
No, we're
works.
That one
talking
has
about,
been.
this is the
Oh,
locker room.
This is the one that has been a problem.
The whole, since day one.
Yeah.
ADA accessibility, yeah. I've not gotten a straight answer on that yet.
So we don't know if it's design or we don't know if it's,
I don't have an answer.
okay.
I have asked the question multiple times. That's my list. What questions do we have?
The one we just got from you and Herrera's.
Oh, the drain?
Yeah,
I talked with Cohen and I talked with Kyle, and they said no.
okay,
So I told MCL today, let that one go.
good.
Other questions, construction? Because I got a few numbers to share with you now. Okay, so contingency right now, contingency sits at 850,000. There's approximate, calls it wrong pricing, there's approximately 260,000 sitting there waiting to get priced out, which would take that down to, what, 590? However, on the flip side, there's still 110,000 in allowances that we haven't used within the GMP, and there's almost 200,000 outside of the GMP for allowances, furniture technology, some of those things that we haven't used. So all in all, we have roughly 900,000 probably that's unencumbered right now, as of today's voice.
And then where we at penalty wise with them?
When I did the math last time, it was somewhere between 225, 250,000, assuming working days from December 20th to the 1st of August.
Which they're not gonna hit.
Correct. And then the question comes because it's a substantial completion penalty versus there's also a clause within our contract for final completion that's a lesser penalty. because I talked to Cody a little bit about this too. Substantial completion is essentially when we can operate in that space as it's intended to be used. So they're going to have different timelines as to area G, area F, area C, so on and so forth. I have not seen those dates yet. That will be information to come. There's,
But we only have one substantial completion date in the contract.
Correct.
And that's the entire project.
correct.
So the liquidated damages aren't based on areas.
I'm just telling you the information that I have.
Yeah.
I would recommend probably the construction committee be ready to meet with Tony and BDH and have a really deep conversation as we finally tie a bow on this.
Is cafeteria punched yet?
Yes. Everything but the flooring that they're replacing. Yep. Other questions?
Well,
Okay. Thanks, guys.
action items. 5.1, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action in setting the meal prices for the 25-26 school year. Brandon.
Okay, this is easy, 5 cents on breakfast, 10 cents on lunch, that'll be advertised in handbooks, that'll be advertised, or put into policy, which we shared earlier with student fees. Pretty common practice and well within reason for what LSI asked within their RFP.
Do we retain our staff for the cafeteria?
All staff was offered a position, not all staff chose to come back.
We've got them filled, they've got them filled?
They're not filled.
Okay.
He had he sent me an email, 1 or 2 of them just informed them they've changed their mind and they're not coming back, or he hasn't been able to
Okay.
get in contact with them or something. I know Tamara, they did retain as director, local director, so she is still on. The other staff members I don't know.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the new lunch rates for the 2025-26 school year.
Second that.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
5.2, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the revision of the policies for the board manual.
Okay, all the policies are attached. These are the ones that we discussed last time. The one that I don't have finalization on that I need direction is Title IX. Whether you want the slim version or whether you want the full version.
KSB said
Either works.
either one.
Yep. That's why they
What's our,
put them
what
both
do you
out.
guys suggest?
Let me ask you this, that slim version doesn't give any guidance whatsoever on what to do, right?
Yep.
So what process are we going to follow? Are we basically gonna go to the full version anyway because it lays out a nice, clear process on how to work through these issues? Or, I mean, it can't just
Yep.
be discretionary or free-for-all, we've gotta have a process.
Correct. What we would do with a slim version is probably develop administrative regulations to guide. But the description that Cody gave when I talked to him a couple months ago, the slim version provides a lot more flexibility and maneuverability. The full version is a lot more, I don't wanna say hoops you have to jump through, but a lot more specifically defined processes, procedures that you have to follow.
I think that's not bad when we're talking about a Title IX. So, that slim is a little too slim for me.
Well, I was looking at this before we left, and I wasn't sure which one to recommend, so I don't know. I'd maybe like to table the Title IX until next month, and
Can we, or do we need to get that passed?
Yes.
Because it has to go in the handbook, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no middle ground here between the super slim and the really long version?
I can request it, but I don't have that.
Well, you said you were gonna come up with some procedures, administrative procedures.
Yep,
Do you have those administrative? Where are they coming from?
we would develop
So if we do the slim version, we would, okay, it would go on, but you would then during that period, moving forward, you develop it, that would come back to us, right?
Administrative procedures would not.
Oh, I don't like that at all, sorry. No.
So how do we vote on this? You've got a lot of policies here.
Yep. Within the motion, what I would say is approve all policies as presented with the exception of Title IX. And then on the Title IX side, do a second motion to approve either the slim or the full version.
So one thing that we could do, so we do have a nice, clear process, we could adopt the full, and then if you wanted to work with KSB to develop something, the administrative procedures, if you will. And then the question becomes, is there any reason we couldn't adopt those administrative procedures as a middle ground between the really slim and the really long? Couldn't we codify that within a third option for a Title IX policy?
Yes, I could work with KSB and come up with a third option.
I mean, at least
When
then
we
we
start
have
the school year, it's
something,
gonna be the long version, will be the school, we
Yeah.
start the school.
and then we could amend at any point in time.
We could run we could run the full version for a year and then
Yeah.
next year,
Next year.
next summer
Or,
too,
yeah,
so,
whatever.
I mean, there's a lot of things gonna happen next 30 days, get school started, try to get a building
Yeah.
project, add one more thing, I don't think it's beneficial for anybody at home. Could we do long form
Yeah.
and then, long form and then have a.
But do we need to do that one
administrative procedure
separate
for the
then?
Following year.
If we do long form, or we can add it into the motion?
No, what I would do is.
Just
approve-
everything, like you just said, approve all the ones presented to us,
And
with
then
the
do Title
exception of
IX
Title IX.
separate.
Yeah, and then do a
Okay.
second motion for the full version of Title
Go
IX.
ahead, Bobby.
Okay, so I'd move to approve all policies except for
It's your turn.
the two versions of 3057 on Title IX.
I second that. Discussion. Alyssa?
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
And then I would move to approve the full version of Title IX.
Second that. Discussion. Alyssa?
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Moving on. 5.3, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the student and staff handbooks for the 25-26 school year.
Building principals worked on the student handbook, putting in any policy changes that we had. I think I provided you with the red line version, staff handbook I provided previously. With the Title IX piece, you would be approving the handbooks, knowing that the full Title IX policy will be inserted in that handbook.
Is there motion questions? Is there a motion to, can we approve both of them at once? Is there a motion to approve the student handbook and the staff handbook for the 25-26 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
5.4, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the district insurance proposal from MMA for the 25-26 school year.
Total premium increases from $225,056 to $259,489. Most of this is the added property value with the construction project that we added to it. I went down by the major groupings just to show a comparison. Commercial general liability, just over $700 up. Crime was down $150. Inland marine flat. Auto was up about $1,100. I'm gonna come back to workers' comp. Umbrella was up slightly. Cyber is flat for now. I'm gonna come back to that. And Linebacker up slightly. Most of it has to do with that property. Workers' comp. Dan, I think, worked awfully hard on this one. If you remember last year, we moved away from, I think it was EMC to another workers' comp carrier. And we got a great rate out of them. This year, they were going to move that rate up significantly because of things that had happened the previous 2 or 3 years. And Dan talked to them and said, this had no impact on you. This, what they did last year was everything you asked them to do. There weren't any big claims. You know, why would we move it up? And so he used some crediting and some other pieces to keep that workers' comp flat. Is that close?
Yeah, so what happens, your mod went up. A good year went off, 2 bad years are on, it went up, had no bearing on the current carrier, and Dan worked his tail off to get them, and they understood it, once they figured out, it's not, they said, yeah, we can do that, so that.
Yeah. The other thing I have on there, cyber is flat for now, so within this, insurance coverage from MMA, there's a baseline cyber security, premium. We're looking at expanding that from an outside vendor. Dan is working through 3 different bids to get for us, to get expanded cyber coverage. And that would be for things specifically school-based. So like the Power School thing, that is on Power School. If there would be a Google thing, that would be on Google. It would be for things that we specifically house. Does that make sense? So I have 2 of them, he said he's waiting on a 3rd one. I should get it this week. It's not a big deal, I will bring cyber back next month. But this is the MMA proposal.
Question on the property.
Yep.
A lot of that should have already been baked in as of the beginning of
So-
the school year last year.
It was actually still under builder's
Builder's
risk.
What have we been doing, how has that been sort of ticking off when we
Yeah,
complete an
so
area?
the number that I show you, this was the August number, the 225 was the August number, the 259,489 is this year's August number. It has increased over the course of the year as things have come off or on. We are done with builder's risk now, as of August 1st. MCL said we're good to leave that off, so it'll be full coverage. And I can get you more specific numbers on the timeline if you want. Okay.
Other questions for Brandon? Is there a motion to approve the district insurance proposal from MMA at $259,489 for the upcoming year?
I'd so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Abstain.
Di?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
5.5, we are not gonna discuss because it hasn't been approved by Russ or looked over by BVH, I'm sure. 5.6, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action for the purchase of new vehicles for the district brand.
I don't have that for you yet. I'm trying to work through Sid Dillon Local on fleet pricing for a minivan and a Suburban to replace 2 vehicles that need to be out of rotation. I'd mentioned this in the past. He had not gotten me prices yet. I am going to reach out to a couple other regional dealerships to see if we can get pricing any quicker, because I would like it off this year's budget as opposed to next year's budget.
Is purchasing the only option, or leasing an option too?
Leasing's an option, it's not a great option for the way that we use vehicles. And when you look at fleet pricing, it's a state or federal buy. So even when I go to these other dealerships, it's within a couple $100 what that price is going to be. It's more the timing of it.
Have you ever looked at like an Enterprise and those places that have these vehicles that are very well maintained, that are just used for rental, that maybe have 20,000-30,000 miles, and looking that route?
Have not.
I would.
Certainly can.
Because you can probably get more bang for your buck, and those vehicles still be under warranties under the manufacturer for 100,000 miles, or maybe 75,000, whatever. I think this is one topic. I think maybe if we could get more bang for a buck, more than 2 would be a big deal. I mean, our fleet's getting old, very old, and when people don't have to take 2 vans to go somewhere because one doesn't have heat or whatever, it makes it.
Well, the other part of that is we are getting pinched on vehicles that we can have in our fleet from State Department. The biggest vehicle that we're going to be able to find is pretty much 9-passenger. Whether
So why
that's a
do other
suburban
schools-
van, anything
I guess that's the
else.
question I have, why does every other school have them? They just do it and don't care?
I don't have the answer
Okay,
to that. What I do know is a lot of schools will rent those vehicles instead of buy them, but they're still responsible if anything were to happen. So I honestly don't know how
So I
they're
guess,
getting by.
what are we worried about from the state? What is it, a fine, if we have it? Because if the insurance company
Sure.
is good to cover them, a 10, 12 passenger, that's who's paying if there's a situation that happens. Why, I mean, I guess, we're limiting ourselves.
What's the issue, I guess, I'm
I
sorry,
guess I don't get-
educate me here.
Yeah,
What,
so there's designations on a vehicle as to what it can be used for. Way back when, you used to be able to use 15-passenger vans, and they threw those out because they were unsafe because of wheelbase axle distance. Then it went down to 12-passenger vans, but the state dictated that you could only carry 11 passengers. So schools would take like the passenger seat out, so you could only fit 11. Well, then the state or federal, I'm not, some governing body, then said it had to be verified by a manufacturer, not just a dealer. Well, manufacturers didn't want the responsibility, so they wouldn't label it, so then it went to 10 plus a driver, now it's 9 plus a driver. Within the inside of the door, and I have the email from her, if it is, I'm trying to think, MPV non-bus, it can be driven, but if it's not, it can't be driven under state guidelines. So there's certain certification that the state gives to vehicles that makes them usable or not usable.
It's stupidity.
so, yeah, can you get a little more information? Who's the they that you're referring to?
State Department,
State Department of what?
Transportation.
And you said there might also be a federal component.
Guidance comes from federal, the people that I talk to are state in Kearney.
And what's the consequences, I think, Mike, you
Yeah,
wanted to.
I will
What
find out,
happens if
I
we-
just know
We do it anyway,
what guidance says.
And are we sure insurance
yes, I've
does
already,
cover it?
because we write, EMC, who's your carrier, writes lots and lots of schools, and that question has been brought up in the past, and they're like, oh, it is, I didn't know that was an issue. It changed from 15 to 12 to 9, they had no idea at the time, I didn't even know it was 9, I thought it was still at 12.
Because I did reach out to other schools like the transit vans. I had been trying to find transit vans, and even schools that have transit vans says we don't buy transit vans. We did it 7 or 8 years ago. We don't even know where you can find them. When I reach out to dealers, they can't find them. So to that end, I don't know how they're getting them or how they're getting by.
I bought one last year at
I'll
22.
find out.
I mean,
No,
I mean, it's
privately you can buy them. I'm
right,
saying
but I
schools.
got a picture, 2 pictures on my phone that I took of a school, and I'm not gonna say names, because I don't want to get in trouble.
Right,
It's at least a 12 passenger van, I know it is, because I counted the seats.
right.
So that to me is, they obviously are doing it even though if the state says you can't. This is a 23, 24 van, this is a newer van, so I know the year, that's why I'm like,
I will find out what the penalty is.
Are we paying depreciation funds?
Yes.
because we're already having a hard time finding drivers. And so this, if we could get, if for whatever reason, if it's 10 or 12, you can get more, you might get away with a team going with one driver, only one vehicle, one driver. Because like a reserve team goes to a game, or, right? Because you're not taking 12 and probably a reserve or that type of deal, freshman, for an injury with basketball or whatever, volleyball. Where we're having a hard time. I mean, I get it, I know, I'm glad you're doing this, check this out, because lots of school, I mean, you could go to every school and I look in there, those aren't older vans, those are newer vans, and every one of those are insured from, most are being insured.
Sure.
They obviously are not too, no, if nobody's worried about it, then there's probably some truth to it.
Sure. I'll find out.
Yeah, let's find out the consequences. Obviously, we're never gonna direct you to break the law.
No.
But let's find out.
Yep.
Cause they're like the private boosters or booster clubs paying for them.
I don't think the pay is the issue, I think the use is the issue, and I'm not sure how I'm not sure if there's differentiation between public and private when it comes to transportation.
Okay. So,
Yep, fair question.
5.7, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on personnel resignations. That should be blank. Items for next regular meeting.
What do you need from me?
Brainstorm.
Some track RFP, or not RFP, I'm sorry, guidance on design bid build.
Is there a direction you guys want me to go? How do we arrive at a path?
Just to clarify,
Yep.
didn't we at one point already vote to do this
We
project
voted
by
to
design
do it,
build?
did not do a resolution. So if the design build is the way to go, we have to do a resolution, and I'm fine moving that direction. At the time, we did design build because it was our perceived fastest path forward. I wanted Cody to come in just to make sure that that was the route that the board still wanted to go as all, that it made the most sense. I'm good at that. I can definitely make that happen. I have most of those documents.
And we do have to vote on that, the resolution?
You would have to vote to
Next.
adopt the resolution as presented.
Next month.
Next month.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd say
That's where I'm at.
put the resolution on there.
Vote on it then.
We'll have a couple of policies to approve that were presented tonight.
You got time for a 30-minute call with Bob and I at some point?
Sure.
No, talking to Renee. Does that work? The next
August. Can I have
week or
it
two? Yeah.
early August?
Mhm.
Just gotta get through it.
That's fine. I'll send a text to both of you in the morning and you can work you guys into your schedules and tell me what works. If it's morning, if it's lunch, if it's afternoon, I think I have. That's not good? Anything else? Very well, we're trying on it.
Mike, before you, just 2 seconds.
Okay.
We gotta move to adjourn.
Yeah, we gotta adjourn, I'm just making sure we got all the docs signed, we got the home signed, before everybody walks out. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?